Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Brian Griffith. I'm the secondary specialist for health and physical education here with FCPS, and I'm one of the staff liaisons for the Family Life Committee meeting. Until we vote in a little bit for a chair or vice chair and the secretary, Jamie and I are going to kind of be leading us through the agenda as we go through. Just as a quick overview, the main function of this meeting is to talk about the role and function of the Family Life Advisory Committee. So we're going to go over expectations, talk about what we will be handling, what we'll be covering. I'll give you a sample of what the next meeting will look like. And then we'll give you an overview of PK, pre-kindergarten through 12th grade health education in Frederick County Public Schools. All of those materials should have been provided to you already, but we'll just go over all of those quickly this evening. And then, as I said, one of the biggest things for this meeting is electing our chair, our vice chair, and our secretary, the three leadership members of this committee. Jamie and I are staff liaisons. This is a community-led board subcommittee, and those three members are the leaders of this committee. So just going through, so we call the order 432. The public comment, still read it, even though we have no public comment.
We have no public comment, but I'll go ahead and read that.
Okay, go ahead.
Just for our record. Family Life Advisory Committee welcomes and encourages public comment. Registration to participate in public comment begins 30 minutes before the posted start time of the meeting. Public comment is not intended to be a question and answer platform for the committee members. Generally, committee members will not respond to comments made. All those registered to give public comment will be granted 3 minutes and will be asked to complete comments when the buzzer sounds. A total of 30 minutes is allocated for public comment on today's agenda. As mentioned, we currently don't have any. Those members of the public wishing to share additional comments with the committee may do so by emailing flacinformation@fcps.org. With that, since we do not have any public comment, just by way of introduction, my name is James Hitchner. See emails from me often. You're Jamie. So I'd also like to welcome you as one of the staff liaisons to the committee. And again, I'm the curriculum specialist for elementary health and physical education, along with Brian, who is helping steer the committee. With that, if we could go around and introduce yourselves, what feeder pattern you represent, and any sort of information you'd like the group to know at this point in time. We typically want to know what organization you represent, if you're representing an organization, or if you're a feeder and you have children in certain school of our district. So with that, I'm going to start way down my right-hand side.
Thank you. I'm Robin Seidel, and I'm the healthcare professional. I've been a nurse for, August, now it's 48 years. I was 8 years old when I started, but I live in Walkersville, and we have 3 children. They're all grown, and but they went to Walkersville Middle and High School. And I'm here to just share the science part as best as I can, and maybe answer some questions, and just be here as a resource.
Good evening. My name is Ray Gallagher. I'm the Board of Education member liaison to FLAC. I also have 2 children in the system in elementary school in the Oakdale feeder pattern.
Good evening, Steve Lockett, I'm principal at Newmarket Elementary School in the Linganore feeder pattern. 32nd year in education in 3 different school systems, and I have 2 that have graduated, a daughter who's a junior at Oakdale.
Good afternoon, my name is Renee Nakita. I am the father of a first grader, and I'm exhausted, at Kenton Elementary School. I'm a doctor of public health. I teach at Johns Hopkins and at George Mason, public health, epidemiology, statistics, all that good stuff. And it goes without saying, having said that none of my opinions represent those of my employers.
I'm Jen Metcalf. I'm the community representative for intimate partner violence agencies. I'm also a mom of 5 in the TJ feeder pattern, and just got the graduation schedule today for my senior, so it's kind of an emotional day. But I have 2nd through 12th graders across 2 schools this year. So.
And as I said, I'm Brian Griffith, staff liaison. Before we move on, I just want to thank everybody for applying, for volunteering. We know that this is a volunteer opportunity. Unfortunately, you are not paid for your time. We will try to respect your time as much as possible. Thank you so much for applying. Thank you for so much for volunteering to be a part of this. We truly do appreciate it.
I'm Krista Hannon. I'm part of the Middletown Peter Pattern. I have 3 girls. They're 5, 9, and 11. I was a teacher, and now I teach women's fitness, so I do have a health background.
I'm Raven Jones. I have a bachelor's in biology and a master's in public health, and I have a 3rd grader at Glade Elementary in Walkersville.
I'm Monica Cecil. I'm in the Curtin County Health Department. I'm a coordinator of the HIV program. I have 2 children in Montgomery County school system. One just graduated at Pennsylvania for college. The other is in 10th grade.
Hi, I'm Kate Majewski. I'm from Urbana Peter Pattern. I have a 9th grader, hard to say that, at Urbana High School. And I also am a health sciences librarian.
My name's Brandy Appleby, and I'm a 3rd grader in the Tuscarora Theater Pattern.
I'm Daphne Church. I represent the Brunswick High School theater. I have a 4th grader at Brunswick Elementary, and I also am a Girl Scout troop leader. So I have 20 juniors who represent Jefferson, Point of Rocks, Middletown, and
We'll let you get settled in, but we're gonna do an introduction of you.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. First, I'm sorry for coming in late. My name is Kemi Daniel, and I have been living in the Frederick community for about like 2 years, and I currently work at Liberty University as an adjunct faculty, and that's like my part-time job. My full-time job is I work with Deloitte as a senior consultant. I don't know if there's anything more I needed to add to that. Okay, yes. So I have 2 kids. I have my 9-year-old in 4th grade at Hokedale, and I have my 7-year-old in 2nd grade at Hokedale Elementary.
Good.
And I have a little one who is still at mom and dad. This is just 2 years old.
Very good. And I also too would like to extend a warm welcome, but then also specifically to our new members that were just recently appointed by the board. So thank you for being willing to volunteer and give up your time and your expertise. We can really count on your voice and your input as we move through the year, present different resources to you. That being said, typically in our order of business, we have approval of meeting minutes. And we do have a quorum to vote. I'm not influencing the vote. Brian and I don't vote. However, those that can vote, we certainly want to welcome that. When we approved the minutes, we realized that many of you were not here, so we probably couldn't validate the accuracy of those minutes. So you can feel free to abstain, and that's fine. We have crossed this bridge before in years past, so that's fine. But at this point in time, I would like us to take a moment. The minutes were provided to you, as well as email correspondence that was shared with you in the past several months. And so we will take a moment. We're going to call for a motion to vote on the approval of the minutes. Could I get a motion? Steve Lockard, second, Ray, thank you. All those in favor, just raise your hand, signify in favor, and please keep them raised for count. 7. And any opposed? And any abstentions? 3 abstentions. Okay, thank you so much all. We're going to transition now to new business.
So new business, one of the things that we gave you was the role and function of FLAC. If you don't mind bringing that document out. This is a short document, but it does provide guidance of what this committee is about, where it comes from, and what you all are responsible for as we move forward. So just to let you know, this does come from the Code of Maryland Regulations for Health Education. So as part of, there is regulation and guidelines for all content areas in the state of Maryland. Health education is a pretty lengthy one, one of the more lengthy ones. Inside of that is a document that says for family life and human sexuality information, there will be a community group that provides input. Inside of Frederick County Public Schools, it was determined that this group will be approving resources in order to move forward. Now, just to put a little asterisk in that, there is a future board meeting coming up that may discuss the process and that process being changed. So just to let you know, we'll keep you updated about that date and what's going on and what will happen and everything else. We're not exactly sure what that'll look like, but I believe October 11th is the date for that. So talk about, and it'll just be how the process will change. Your input and your voice is not going to change. That is still critical to this process. Jamie and I value it. No matter where we have been, no matter what we've done, this committee provides a lot of great guidance to us. Unfortunately, the teacher rep could not be here today. She is a secondary teacher. She's currently at the high school level, but they find the resources, provide them to us. We discuss them, we review them, provide feedback. That feedback I give to all of my leaders and curriculum writers as well. So they see what you say about their different resources, and that helps guide them in selecting more resources, more appropriate or more or whatever else. So the main role of this committee is to look at family life and human sexuality resources. This committee in Frederick County also added on sexually transmitted infections. So that was kind of an expectation as part of Frederick County to include that. Technically, those objectives come underneath the disease prevention, which does not fall under the COMAR regulation, but that's a practice in Frederick County that we follow here. So sexually transmitted infection resources are also brought forward to this committee. So looking over that, again, this is a board appointed committee. This is not Jamie and I. You all applied to the board identified, and then came through. We have an administrator, we have a teacher, Department of Health, medical professionals, a wide variety of people who come on and support this organization, support this committee. As we look forward, as we said, we look for feedback from all of you. And I do want to thank past chairs and past supporting to make sure that all voices are heard as we move forward, because that is critical. As you see, one of the last things in the agenda is we always wrap up with recommendations as well. What do you want to see as part of this committee moving forward as well? So Jamie and I take that information, we work with our directors, our supervisors, in order to figure out how, and then the leadership, whoever is appointed leadership, will help to craft the agendas moving forward as well. So looking through this document, you can see the diverse population that represents our membership. And then we do have the officers, which, as I said, the next order of business, once we kind of quickly go through this, is to identify our officers. We have 3 officers that we need to nominate and vote on as a committee. Those 3 officers are the chair, the vice chair, and the secretary. As I said, right now we have 5 meetings. We understand 4:30 to 6, and it may be difficult. We completely understand. If there's issues, please make sure to email Jamie, myself, Suzanne White, in order to contact and reach us if there are any issues. The leadership, we do expect a little bit more commitment as well. Those 3 people will be meeting with Jamie and I after this meeting concludes. Once we wrap up this meeting, they will schedule another meeting where they kind of plan out the agenda. Again, it's those 3 that are planning and working based on your feedback. So those 3 people do have a little bit more time commitment above the regular committee. So you can see what those roles actually are in there. And we do want to point out the recording secretary. We have tried very hard to do a lot of that because the recording secretary technically is a part of the committee, and we want their voice heard as well. So we, Susie, Jamie, and I try to keep up with the minutes so that the recording secretary can participate in the meeting, and then we just ask them later on just to go through things. As you see, there are meeting expectations. There are a minimum of 4 meetings, but we usually schedule a 5th. Unfortunately, because of weather, as you all know, something typically happens, so that's why we always schedule 5. If we need to cancel that last one, we will cancel it. If you all deem that that meeting is necessary and you all want to have 5, we will have 5. This is your committee. You tell us exactly, and that's how we'll plan things out. If there are issues with attendance and you're not reporting to them, us, or anything else, we will not continue. This is a multi-year agreement. You all agreeing to be a part of this committee. But if you are not participating, we are going to have to ask the board not to ask you to come back for the following year, and that the position will be vacated, and we will be seeking new nominations as well. So just as an FYI. Jamie, is there anything I'm missing or?
I don't believe so. Just want to reiterate the one piece that Brian mentioned about how important your voice is and your input is on this committee. A change in practice, or actually an additional piece of practice that we are following. Again, getting guidance from our Board of Education. In fact, that we have that Slack information email account. So you'll hopefully become accustomed to receiving regular communication from that email account. So it'll be very important to please monitor your own email accounts for that information being shared out. And that information will also be copied to board docs and reported to the public each and every time. So I just want to bring that kind of a new update to your attention as well. And again, that's a great opportunity for you. Many of you represent either an organization or a feeder pattern to talk amongst parents and the citizens in your jurisdiction. So get their feedback, get their input, and then feel welcome to bring that voice to the meeting as well.
As I said, one of the main things, the main responsibility of this committee is to review items. Just to give you a little bit of a history, traditionally, the board has pretty much approved most of the items. When the board did have final approval, the board approved almost all items that this committee approved. I will give, last year, for example, Health 2 is a new course. We're going to be going over that. One of the videos, this committee looked at it and said it was too young. It was not appropriate for the high school level. The issue was our writers couldn't find a good video that really met the needs. And so I went back to my writers and said, hey, they want me to bring that video back for middle school. And my writers completely understood that because they really couldn't find anything. We're moving forward with just providing instruction, not having instructional resources like that. But that's why your voice is so important, to look at those resources, to identify, to give us feedback so my writers and my leadership team can move forward with some of those different things. And again, we do have, for our next meeting, we already have 2 videos that we will be presenting for Health 2. Any questions on guidelines or anything like that before we move forward? Thank you so much. Next order of business.
So we're going to open the floor for nominations. Historically, we try to open just one office at a time. So we will start with presidency for the chair of the committee. Do I have any nominations for chair of the committee?
You are more than welcome to self-nominate. Yeah.
I'd like to nominate Jen again.
Can you accept?
I do.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
I'd like to nominate someone. Dr. Najera, can you serve again? I know you served last time. Oh, so you cannot be nominated again?
Yes.
Oh, okay then.
Thank you.
Now,
Thank
this
you.
is nominated for chair.
Thank you. Accept the nomination. Thank you.
Okay.
Nominate myself for secretary.
All right, We're gonna do one office at a time. Okay, fair. That's it. I will talk that over. Thank you. Okay. Yeah.
I'm actually okay, like, taking myself out.
Hot potato, hot potato.
You're welcome to decline, that's fine.
No, I'm declining.
I'm gonna yield that.
I would yield.
So can I clarify your nomination? I thought you were nominating, I thought it was going to be for president and for vice chair, so that was
Oh,
what I was doing.
No, I'm sorry, we were gonna do one officer at a time.
Okay, so then.
Last year, you may recall this from last year, because of the dynamics of we actually accepted a slate of officers because everyone was running on a code.
Right.
And that may be the way it turns out now, that we have the information, but currently.
So that was what I thought, and that was why I said I nominate Dr. Najera. I intended for the vice chair, not for the chair. So, just to clarify.
Thank you for clarification.
So let me get some clarification.
So it's the same slate, I guess.
So is Jen back in?
Are you okay with that?
I am fine with that, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And are there, well, okay, let me open up the floor for anything that wants to run for nominations for vice chair. In addition, we've already heard a nomination for Dr. Najera. Any others that are running vice chair? Okay, I'm going to open the floor for secretary, hearing Raven and nominated. Are there any others? Sufficient wait time. We now have a slate of officers who've been nominated, but we still have to officially vote. And thank you. We didn't give like public speeches and things like that. But for those of you that are new, these were 3 wonderful leaders that we had last year representing the committee. So with that, I'm going to call for a motion to vote on one full slate. All 3 of these individuals would be voted on in totality. So do I have a motion to vote? Okay, Rob, that's the motion. Is there a second? Steve Lockard has a second. Okay. And again, this is a vote yes to approve all 3. Hands in the air, please, if you wish to approve all 3. Please keep them up for a count. You're welcome to vote for yourself.
For them, not me.
Yes. That's sometimes the danger of going full slate.
Yeah.
Yes.
We understand. Okay, so we're unanimous. Thank you. Yes, for any opposed? No abstentions. Okay, well, we would like to officially recognize a chair, a vice chair, and recording secretary for the group. So congratulations and thank you again for serving in those roles for the upcoming year. Trying to get some on the rest of the meeting. While Brian's getting the technology ready to go, typically, again, what we've found to be a best practice is, especially on board our new members, is to kind of give you an overview of the current health education programming that we have to our students in pre-K through 12th grade as it relates to health education. And we'll get a chance to walk you through, again, as we mentioned, my coverage is from pre-K through 5th grade, and then Brian oversees the curriculum from grades 6 through 12. And then with that, we'll kind of make our way through. And if I get to lead off, I'll forget.
We'll kind of Jamie and I will tag team. If there are any questions, please stop us, please ask us. It's not a problem. You will have a copy of this. It was also included in your pre-meeting notes as well. The first thing that we want to look at is health literacy. We want to be clear in that What we do in health education is health literacy, and this is a national definition, nationally recognized definition. Process, understand, appraise, apply, and advocate for health information for themselves and others. And that's our goal, is as we're moving through health education in that pre-K to 12, and again, luckily now we have 2 courses in high school, that's our goal. We want kids to understand information, know where to access information, know how to use that information to help themselves and to help other people. So that's always that we review this as we talk with our curriculum writers, as our leaders, as our teachers. You know, at the beginning of the year, August 18th, we talked about health literacy and we talked about physical literacy, the physical education side. Just as a real quick, we are standards-based. We do follow the Maryland State Framework for Health Education. As you see here, the elementary level is scripted lessons. They have a little bit different population. Sorry, Jamie. Just going through on a roll.
You're doing well. Good pace, good pace. Yeah, as you mentioned, it's kind of a unique setting. Those of you who were here last year, appreciate the redundancy here a little bit. We currently only have one elementary school that is provided health education from a certified health educator. If you recall, those of you on the community before, we had some lengthy discussions about that as a high need throughout the county, but currently we serve our students through kind of a 3-pronged approach. The responsibilities for health education are separated with the physical education teacher, with the school counselor, and first and foremost, the classroom teacher in general education, who spends most of the hours of the day with the child, and a lot of the topics, a lot of the items that we share have to deal with that strong relationship between the student and the teacher. So there's a reason there that we use scripted lessons. Scripted lessons there are obviously to be of a help to our teachers, who many of them are not, most of them are not certified in health education. So we're providing them those research-based, research-informed practices that they can use in scripted lesson planning. Again, that's comprehensively taught in grades pre-K through 5. We've onboarded several more pre-K programs throughout the county this coming year, substantially more. I don't want to quote the exact number because I will get the exact number wrong, but I can tell you that that number has tripled since last year. So we're teaching more children that are 3 and 4 years old and providing them the very fundamental information that they need, that only a 3 and 4-year-old will process in health education, and taking care of their bodies, being responsible citizens, for young little citizens, for questioning what's going in my body, how to treat my body, expressing my feelings, expressing all the different aspects that comprehensive health covers. I'll piggyback there and relay it back to Brian to continue on.
So at the secondary level, we're very, very much the same. So we have 45 days of health education, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. We do have Health 1 and Health 2 now. Health 1 is suggested for 9th graders. Health 2 is suggested for 11th and 12th graders. It is the first year that we are kicking this off. Next year, we will have an opportunity for a dual enrollment course, as well as a virtual course. So we have those 2 options that will be rolled out next summer. So we are trying to provide as many options as possible for our students to get that second half credit of health education. As Jamie said, we do have certified health educators. That's where it is a little bit different. We have, the annual trainings, as Jamie said, we do a trainer model. Well, those teachers come in. We have the back to school training at the beginning of the year. We have a January professional development day. We also have a trainer to the model. So I'm able to bring leaders in and train them, provide resources, and then they move forward. We also don't write our curriculum on our own. We use a lot of data, a lot of different resources. We partner with the health department. We partner with our intimate partner Violence, Hartley House. We partner with colleges and universities. We try to partner with whoever we can in order to provide guidance. We understand as we look forward, we're going to identify some of these content areas. It's difficult for one person to be an expert in all of those things. So we rely on people to provide that expertise to our teachers in order to make sure that they are up to date. And that's what those curriculum professional development days, that's what we accomplish there.
One thing, just in context for everyone, what you're going to see in this upcoming year by serving on this committee is that as we bring resources to the committee, there's going to be a significant difference because as Brian brings things to you, he'll bring things, mostly videos and supplemental resources that teachers will then use in the lesson plans that they create. If I were to bring something to you, yes, it might be a video, it might be a supplemental resource, but in many cases, I might bring you a scripted lesson plan that we would be asking you to evaluate. So while you wouldn't necessarily do that with Brian, in both cases, please rest assured that what we're bringing will always be from valid, credible, and reliable resources. Some of those come from those partners that he mentioned, and some of those come from curriculum companies that share information with us. Question?
And just for clarification, when you say certified, certified by whom?
So a certified health educator, basically having an endorsement on the Maryland State Teaching Certificate. State board, he would prove that.
You'd like us to provide more information on that at a later meeting?
No, I just wanted to clarify.
No, understand.
It's a question I got from a parent. So.
Gotcha.
Certified by.
Yeah,
No, good question.
endorsed on Maryland State certification. We always like to provide this graphic to talk about health literacy, low health literacy to high health literacy, and what we truly want and hope students are able to do. We don't just want students to memorize things. That does not mean that they are impacting things later on. For those that follow the opioid epidemic and things like that, this organization does not address that. We can talk about STIs. With STIs, we had a spike in STIs when people switched to long-acting reversible contraception. They stopped using barrier methods, but continued to participate in sexual behaviors. And so we saw a spike in STIs. And unfortunately, we kept that spike going with STIs as well, because again, the switch to long-acting reversible contraception. So how do we take that knowledge and move it up that pathway? By accessing valid and reliable information, by analyzing influences, by taking a look at where our kids are being influenced. And we know a lot is on social media at this point in time. So how do we have kids analyze that information and digest all that information to make sure that they are truly accessing valid and reliable information? And then making those decisions and goals based on their own health and supporting the health of others. And then again, going up interpersonal communication. We know that's one of the biggest issues right now. Again, kids are not communicating like they used to. We see through mental health issues and things like that. Kids are saying, I feel isolated, I feel alone. There's all these people, they're connected online, social media. What social media show? A profile. Only half of what's, or not a portion of what's going on. So how do kids process all of that stuff, support interpersonal communication? Because again, going into those doctors, going in with that partner and having those conversations about contraception, about STIs or whatever else, if you don't have the interpersonal communication skills, you're not going to be able to have those conversations in order to support your health moving forward. And then at the very top there, we have that self-management and advocacy. So how am I using all those skills down below to manage my own health and then be that advocate? By having the confidence to talk to the medical professional, which again is the person that we say go talk to about a lot of these different topics. How do I have the skills and the confidence to be that advocate for myself to make sure I'm getting what I need in order to be a healthy person and a healthy member of the community?
Brian, when you say a spike in STIs, are you talking about a spike in STIs in general or in the student population?
We had a spike in the student population.
Is it for real?
Yeah.
You're kidding or you're serious?
No, I'm very serious. Dr. Brookmeyer, luckily the health department keeps a record of all that information, provided a lot of information to us and identified even our hot pockets inside of our community as well.
Okay. Two questions on that I can explore further. So when you say a spike, are you able to tell, is that like a trend in terms of are there particular school districts where you see this?
So just wait, I'm not an epidemiologist. I rely on the health department.
Okay.
So Dr. Brookmeyer provides us guidance on what's going on and what's happening.
So can we access that report?
Yeah. Yep.
Do you know the name of the report or should I, I was just going to see if I should just ask them or are you able to provide that to us? Thank you.
So then what we want to make sure as we're identifying some of the different topics, because again, there's a lot of topics that are covered in health education. So what is it that's nice to know and what is it that's need to know? And that's why we have switched to a skills-based. We have, again, even though I said we have 45 days, that's still not a whole lot of time when we're talking about the number of topics, and it's a future site. All those different topics. So what is it exactly the kids need to know at that point in time, but what skills and information do they need so that later on they can hopefully access those skills and access the resources they need in order to support their own health.
I have a question, and I really don't know the answer to this. The interpersonal skills are lacking because they're constantly on their phones. Is there a way to take their phone, are we allowed to take their phones away while they're in school and make them start to learn how to have conversations and what's appropriate, and are we not allowed to do that?
So there's actually a new student code of conduct that is out, and students should not be on their phones. Students should be using their devices, should be engaged in learning and things like that. So again, that just rolled out. So we'll see how it's going. Yeah, so we've only been in school a few weeks now, but that is part of the new student code of conduct. They're embedded in their hands. So again, inside of that, we did include a lot of the different links and different resources related to us. All of our essential curriculum is online. We also included so all of our essential curriculum is posted on public access. So it is there. Our curriculum maps are not. We're happy to share kind of the big picture of what some of those things are. So just as an overview, as we said, the process for approving items and your main responsibility of this committee. Looking at, Jamie and I both have teacher leaders. We have identified a group of teachers. A lot of them have volunteered to write curriculum, support us. They meet with us on a regular basis in order to design curriculum. We spend a lot of time over the summer as well as throughout the year. Amy Wilhelm is one of my secondary teachers. She's a middle school teacher. She just started high school this year. She switched levels, but she is one that kind of gave feedback to this committee last year, identifying the resources. Then I take it back to the curriculum writers. They develop resources for implementation, and then we roll that out through different meetings and sharing it with our different teachers. What we want to make sure of, again, is if you do not approve those items, we don't move those forward, and I go back to my writers to try and find some new resources in order to support those objectives. All of the resources that we are bringing forward are aligned to our essential curriculum. As I said, we do not follow stuff on our own. We follow a lot of different resources. We have included some of those things here. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has guidelines on health education. Our Maryland State Department of Education has the framework. The Board of Education, Maryland State Board of Education approves the standards, and then the framework is worked on by a group of leaders. But inside of that as well, the second link is just a guideline of effective health education from the CDC. And then the third link is the HECAT, what we call the HECAT, which is a health education curriculum analysis tool. So what the CDC did was they looked at a variety of objectives and said, what does that look like in some of the different grades? And what we use that tool for is looking at our Maryland State framework. We use the curriculum analysis tool. That the curriculum analysis tool provides us a little bit finer detail of objectives to incorporate and add inside of our curriculum as well. So that the HECAT, and then state and local health departments, we partner with them on a regular basis. And then finally, our national association. So SHAPE America, Society of Health and Physical Educators, is our national association that provides us guidance as well. They are the ones that hold the copyright to our national health education standards. And then they also provide guidance and resources to help us implement curriculum as well as professional development. Any other questions, topics?
Right. Piggybacking on the request about the STI information, Risa Watkins came and gave a great presentation not yesterday, gosh, it's been a really long day, back in May. And so if we can invite them back, to come and give us an update on that survey and any other information between now and then we can ask them.
Would you like us to include, the youth risk, so Risa Watkins, the epidemiologist at the health department, came last year to provide an update on the youth risk behavior surveillance system, which is a survey provided to middle and high schoolers across our state. We do have local data reflected in that. We actually will have a new report coming out this spring. So because COVID, we actually did back-to-back surveys. So we did it in the fall of 21 and the fall of 22. So we had the fall of 21 data that was released this spring. Yes, it was a year and a half late because it is a national survey. So the CDC analyzes that data, puts everything. So we have that data, and then hopefully this February, March, we should have the 22 data as well. So we can share the presentation from last year, and then maybe at the third or fourth meeting, we would have her come back and share the 2022 data as well. How does that sound?
Do y'all ever do surveys and stuff with the students? Do you get feedback from them, like after a lesson or something? Or do you have like pre and post test or anything?
Yep. So with our curriculum writers. So we do not do that system-wide except for our signs of suicide, and that's an agreement. So with our suicide lessons we have resources in 8th grade, in Health 1 and in Health 2. It is a vendor, it is a contract, it is a paid for resource. That resource does have a pre and a post. Other than that, my curriculum writers, if they are experimenting and trying something new, they do that and then bring it back to the bigger leadership. We're looking to expand that as well.
Your curriculum writers have a list of gaps. Just a running list of where you would like to see supplemental materials, but you just can't find good ones out there.
Yep.
That might be used in, say, a grant application to develop those materials. It would be good to see that list.
Yeah. Sorry, yes. Again, some of you, for those of you who've been on the committee, it's a balance of the videos and resources. I've talked before that we want to make sure that nothing wrong with the health department. We partner with the health department, but sometimes there are health departments that create videos and resources that are very dry, and those are not ones that will engage students. And so our curriculum writers try to not identify things like that. They try to identify things that will keep the students engaged, and we try to keep those videos limited. We know if any video is longer than 4 to 6 minutes, their attention span is gone and they have moved on to the next thing. So how do we chunk if there is a video? For example, in high school in Health 1, we have a video called the Escalation Workshop that is provided by the One Love and is on domestic violence and the story of Yardley Love. That video, my curriculum writers chunked it up into 4 to 6 minute bits. So we stop that long video, we have a discussion about what those things are, and then we move on to the next section. We make sure that the students understand what the key points are of each chunk of information before we wrap up.
Question. So when I look at the health education topics, you have the skills that they need to learn on the left, and you have the functional knowledge. So are you saying that when the curriculum is written, it covers all of the areas on the right for the functional knowledge?
And I apologize, I don't know why I skipped over that one so quickly. Jamie, you want to talk about elementary quick? Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. So that's really a shift for our elementary piece specifically. The functional skills, or I'm sorry, the content knowledge has really been the focal point of the elementary resources that we have in our classrooms to date. Important to note, keep this again, important to note, I think we've messaged this out, but we'll say it again. There are no new materials that are anticipated for the upcoming school year because there is an anticipation for wanting to align to the current standards, which include those skills functioning. And so any new resources that we would want to move forward, we would want to move forward in a manner that brings about or maintains the focal point on the content, but then also embeds the skills and the opportunity to practice those skills in our lessons and in our time period with the elementary students. So that would be a considerable shift that we have moving forward. And also too, by delaying our implementation, we certainly want to be very diligent, very precise with our rollout. And as you can imagine, if we try to do a mid-year implementation, we don't have a scope and sequence in our school system currently where February, everyone does this. March, everyone does this. It's currently not the case, just to be candid with you. And so if we were to roll something out in a mid-year implementation, some students, some schools will get this, other students, other schools won't get this. And so we want to make sure that what we do, we're very careful, we're cautious, we're very diligent in our rollout so that we'll be ready and primed, I believe, in a rollout for the upcoming 24-25 school year. Right now, that focal point in our current lessons is still on the content with plans to embed those skills, those functional skills that was supported by the previous graphic. Turn it back to Brian.
So yeah, so looking at our objectives, we cover all of those topics on the right every year, but some of them we only scratch the surface on. So family, life, and human sexuality, for example, in 6th and 7th grade, yes, we have objectives inside of there, but it's smaller. Our 8th grade is where we have the bulk size of that. Nutrition is in 7th grade, but we still have nutrition in 6th and 8th grade as well. So we try to balance it out in our limited amount of time in order to support that information. And again, connecting. So we don't talk about all those skills every single day. We have a focus, for example, 6th grade, our focus is accessing information and analyzing influences. We've done a lot of work over the last 2 years with media specialists. Media specialists have designed some really great resources on accessing valid and reliable information and conducting research. So we actually, at our August PD this past year, we actually had our schools meet with the media specialists and talk about how they're addressing some of that stuff and incorporating their resources as well. Even though we focus on those two, we still talk about interpersonal communication and the other thing. So in 7th grade, interpersonal communication, decision-making are two focused on skills, but we still address some of those other things as well.
To build the anticipation for that elementary piece I was talking about, as you might presume, a large bit of our lift or our work in the elementary has been really on that accessing information. We want to build that foundational knowledge for the students and how to access the valid and reliable information, how to get it, where to get it, how to analyze it and evaluate it to make sure that it's supposed to be appropriate for the students' needs in the elementary level. And then also too, to work through decision-making as well as goal setting. So if they're able to internalize the information they're being given and then be able to figure out how do I make decisions, as I mentioned earlier, what's going to go in my body? How do I treat my body? How do I express myself? And then we do, as only an elementary school student can handle in the developmental level, we kind of would like to see a preparation for that advocacy step so that when they matriculate to the 6th grade, they at least have some foundational thoughts about what it means to advocate for themselves and to be more independent learners, independent thinkers, even a 5th grader who's transitioning to 6th grade.
Well, that's helpful to know. So, because I mean, I'm looking at the skills, and those are very valuable skills to have, even as one becomes an adult. But also I'm thinking, like for people with limited English proficiency, for example, like even that interpersonal communication, regardless of whether you're like plugged into your phone 24/7, you know, that interpersonal communication, especially the advocacy piece. So I guess I'm wondering, like, I know you have like standards of this is what needs to be covered across the board. And I'm hoping that it takes into account like those with limited English proficiency, especially because that advocacy piece, sometimes it's very difficult if you view like a healthcare professional as like the power, like the be all end all. And that power differential may sometimes make you timid, and you may not be able to express yourself and what you need. So those are the things that are just running through my head as I look at this. And I'm just hopeful that the curriculum writers take those types of things into consideration.
We do, and multilingual education, multilanguage. So the new director of curriculum, so we have an executive director who's Dr. Kevin Cuppett. We have 2 directors of curriculum, Scott Murphy and Dr. Kathy Gall. Dr. Gall is a former English, there's so many different, I apologize, ESOL, English as a second language, but multi-language education's director. So we work closely with her office as well, especially in resources. We need to do more, but one of the good things is that their department is now working with our department as well. We're all underneath the same department, and we hope to have some more resources moving forward too.
And then the last thing I'll say on this, and I think Jen may have brought it up, maybe it may be Jen, it may be someone else, but I still think that there needs to be a way to assess a change in knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, this is a lot of information, so how do we ensure that they are retaining at least some of this information? So I don't know how that's going to happen. You can maybe a survey, maybe we'll take a survey, but.
So one of the things that we do for assessment at the secondary level is project-based learning activities. One of the things that's good about project-based learning is that we can incorporate a variety of health skills inside of that project, and we can address, the project-based learning task really focuses on one content, one skill, but we incorporate a whole lot of information inside of there as well. So and then looking at the scaffolding through 6 through 12 as well, we hope that kids are able to master those skills as well as acquire that knowledge as they move through. So we use those project-based learning tasks and other formative assessments as those checkoffs as we're moving forward. As the students are progressing through the grade.
So that's just in the middle to high school.
Right.
I do. So I just wanted to clarify, you had said earlier, there's no new, or one of the slides said, there's no new curriculum for this, I say fiscal year, school year. So the resource, so you're really talking about this group is going to be looking at the resources that support the curriculum for approval for, I mean, will they be implemented within the school year, or is it a future school year? It just sort of depends when it lands with us and what the results are.
The secondary level, the resources you will be looking at are already approved objectives, and those resources would be implemented this school year.
And the difference would be that there would be a great likelihood that we could bring elementary-based resources to the committee. The significant difference is, as I mentioned for reasons earlier, the implementation would not exist until the school year. But that keeps us ahead of the pace and ahead of the curve because through the good work of this committee, and it may be that resources get bounced back and forth. We don't approve something as is, but great recommendations, great suggestions, we take it back to the writers. Following meeting, we bring back a new and improved version and then have your consideration for that. And then if something would be to move through the approval process, and again, this all goes out through public review as well. Public gets an opportunity to review and respond. Then we would then look, once approved, we would then look to implement in the following school year.
Thank you. If I could ask one more question. The student liaison to this committee. Do we have one and they're just not able to attend?
They were not unable to make it tonight.
Great.
Maybe
Great.
that's, maybe, I'm sorry, Mark.
Go.
Maybe that's a good opportunity time to put in a plug. So, sorry. Catherine Richards, the Board of Education Secretary, has informed me that our committee calls for multiple voices from the student body. So typically it's a student member of the board that serves as kind of a de facto representative, and that person's unable to be with us this evening. However, I'm informed that the board would like to entertain and reopen opportunities for other students to apply. So if people are watching the recording that will be broadcast online, I just put a plug out there that the board will be looking for new members to serve on this committee in addition to that student member of the board. So that's kind of an opportunity that's out there for, to expand the voice of our students.
And is that the normal application process? Is there a special?
Yeah, the same that other members have here. Just, there'll be a student and we're kind of the adult citizens of the community.
Could I ask you all to recirculate that?
Know that it's gone back out.
No, it has not gone back
Oh,
out.
it hasn't?
No, that's recent information as of a few days ago.
It will,
But
but I think our bylaws allow for one additional student member, so in addition to Brooke, we're looking at one more.
We also reach out to the Student Government Association just as another avenue to try and recruit students.
Brian, I have a question. How reactive is the curriculum? Meaning, if, God forbid, something happens within the scope of it, how quickly can you turn around something to educate the students about it?
Depends what the topic is. So if it is something that we partner with the health department on and they give us resources, just pulling out a topic, opioid epidemic. When that occurred, whenever that spike, we partnered in social studies. They came in and they taught some stuff. English language arts taught some stuff. Biology taught some stuff. But it took time for us all to sit down, develop those resources. And so we're talking months. There's very few things that we can, truly get a comprehensive package and roll it out. There is guidance. If there is something that pops up that we can align to a current objective, align to a current lesson plan, but just something that just needs tweaked, we can do that pretty quickly. But again, the reality is when our kids have health education, so our kids only have it for 45 days. So if they had it first term and we had something that occurred in December, pretty much half the kids are not going to get that information moving forward. Looking at those recommendations for moving forward, one of the things, so STIs, so I'm actually going to reach out to Rissa and see if we can get some updated information as well and have that chart. We're going to share the old YRBS presentation and also ask her to put it on her radar for the spring to come and provide other information as well. Are there other topics that we should be covering? Is one that we brought up last year, and pornography. And that is one that I would really love for this committee to look at and address and provide guidance that these are topics that we need to cover with inside of health education.
I would like for us to maybe have maybe a goal. I don't know if that's a thing we can do, but to really get some piece of like parent education together before the end of this year at least. I feel like we keep talking about it, but we never actually quite get to it. And I don't know if that would And I saw in the, like, we are allowed to potentially have a subcommittee, so maybe that might be something we talk about, just so we can get some work done on something like that outside of just the committee.
Great idea, Chair.
One thing I'd be interested in just in understanding, and we didn't really talk about today, but I think it was in your slide, was sort of the opt-out process. And then I know we have families that do opt out from some of the lesson, the topics, and curriculum. But if we have statistics around how frequent that is, that families opt out at the primary level and secondary level, I'd just be interested to know, you know, sort of what that landscape looks like.
Very well. The second.
And because that's been kind of a topic of interest among our elementary age parents or parents of elementary age students. Just wanted to highlight and point out, especially for our new members. So the opt-out, Maryland State provides an opt-out for only lessons that are aligned curriculum framework on health topics associated with family life and human sexuality. And I think probably one of our biggest misconceptions that I've had to work with is the ability to opt out of other topics outside of it. But just want this group to know it's important, you know, as we kind of contain the conversations around family life and human sexuality, that any resources that this committee is going to consider for approval and then move forward to the board for approval. Once approved, families will have the ability to opt out of anything that this board or this committee would approve under the Maryland State statute. So just wanted to tuck that away to make sure that our new members understand that here and that we can do our best to message that out so that people understand that the opt-out does apply. Grades pre-K all the way out through grade 12, any resource that's aligned to curriculum that's purely about family life and human sexuality.
Sexual abuse and assault is not included in those categories. Sexual abuse and assault are resources that we will bring to this committee for feedback, but that is not an opt-outable. Students have a state mandated state law that students will be a part of.
If you look at on here on the graphic on the screen, functional knowledge midway down, the item that Brian's talking about falls under the curriculum standard in the framework about safety and violence prevention. That's completely different than family life and human sexuality. That's to deal with folks in there.
So is that the only one on the list that parents can opt out of?
Family life and human sexuality is the only one on the list.
So are there any other final thoughts, questions, recommendations? Enjoy this, maybe the only time we end this early. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move. Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Thank you very much. If you have any questions, you can always email Jamie and I.